You're listening to This Week in America with Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. Thank you for joining us on the program. As mentioned, our guest is the author of the new book, War of My Brother, Tonya Threadgill, with us on the program today. Tonya, an excellent book. Looking forward to having a chance to talk about it. Welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
It's great to be here, Rick.
Really enjoyed having the chance to read the book War of My Brother, which is set in Nazi Germany. This is your first book that you've written. Where did the idea come from?
Well, I was in high school. It was my senior year, and I really enjoyed studying about World War II in Germany. Germany was my favorite country to think about, and I'm really close to my older brother, Josh. And so I just kind of came up with the story to put us back in time to that horrible, tragic event in history. And so I just kind of wrote the first two chapters, and two of my favorite teachers, I let them read it, and they really enjoyed it, and it inspired me to write more.
That's interesting, the inspiration you got from the teachers and how important they are in developing young writers and helping you develop that craft. The main characters in the book are Tonya and Josh, named after you and your brother. Once you decide, okay, I'm going to take my brother and I, put us back in that time frame, you needed, I'm sure, to do research and to develop a story. How much time did you spend in researching and then coming up with a storyline?
I did a lot of research throughout my high school years. I did a lot of watching videos of the Holocaust and watched a lot of movies, read a lot of books, and people who survived and the things they went through. And I just kind of put the war together and just put the story together between me and my brother. And it took a lot of research, I'll tell you that.
Well, yes, when you're writing something like this, people will read it and they'll catch you if anything is off base. So you really need to be accurate, and you are as you're reading the book. The book is called War of My Brother. Tonya Threadgill is the author and our guest on the program. The book is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookventure.com as well. And if you link onto our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you'll be able to get all the information there and link on directly to the book information. We're talking about Tonya, her brother Josh, who find themselves in Germany as World War II is going on, and the Nazis were in full force at that point in time. Talk about how they ended up in Germany. And they live in fear there, but how did they end up in Germany?
It kind of goes along in the series of how we got there. But he was supposed to be a soldier that got transported, or as they call it, sent to Germany. And somehow I was there, and we just got caught up in the whole war. And so the Nazis are just going after anyone who's a threat to Hitler or their home and against their rules and laws. And so we just kind of went into hiding to keep from being captured and sent into the camps.
Yeah, it's obvious you are Americans, and you go through the period, and there are some really, really suspenseful scenes in the book as you're reading. And the book is called War of My Brother, where you get really close to being captured, don't you? Well, I say don't you. It was the character, Tonya, in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are times when you really are fleeing for your life. Let's talk a little bit about some of the characters in the book. There's a Nazi member that Tonya becomes very close with. Talk about that relationship without giving away a whole lot, but this is really an intriguing character who basically comes out of nowhere at the beginning of the book.
Well, in the book, I described him as a mysterious character that he just seems like at first I have no idea who he is, and he acts like he knows a lot about me, and so their trust issues come up, and it's like, do I know this person? How does this person know a lot about me? And can I trust this person to keep me safe, or do I have to kill this man? And so a lot of questions just follow up, and it's just like you got to put pieces of the puzzle together and figure out who this character is.
Yes, and as the book goes on, you're finding more and more pieces as you're trying to the puzzle to try to put this together. The book is War of My Brother. Tonya Threadgill is our guest on the program. The book is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and at BookVenture. Another character at the beginning of the book is Lauren Bells. Just talk a little bit about her, because this was for Tonya, this was a really frightening experience to have this friend and lose this friend.
She was a character I came up with. At first, she was a real person, but then I changed the last name to keep her identity safe. And we were best friends. She came to visit me in the book, and as you read, then the war just starts to break out, and I lose her, and so she helps me hide and helps me figure out certain places to be and how to protect myself. And so, I just put her in there. So.
Yeah, and as you're reading the book, and you mention this period of time, and you can sense what's going on with the labor camps, the concentration camps, the fear, the reign of terror that's going on in Germany during this period. Another character is Harz, who is right-hand man of Adolf Hitler. Talk briefly about that character. He's a frightening character.
Well, I knew Hitler had some right-hand man, but I just didn't want to take any of those people. I wanted to create my own character so it wouldn't be too much like a real story. I just wanted to create a character of my own, and he comes in and thinks Hitler's too weak to do everything himself, so he tries to find the most threat in case that happens to be me and my brother. So he's trying hard to find us.
The book is War of My Brother. Tonya Threadgill is our guest on the program. That's Threadgill. The book's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, BookVenture.com. You can link on directly and get information by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Talk about some of the challenges in the book for Tonya. I don't want to give away too much as we're talking here, but it seems as she overcomes one obstacle, there's another one that pops up. What are some of the main challenges that she faces in the book, trying to preserve her safety as well as that of her brother, and for the two of them to survive?
Well, the challenges are pretty great throughout the series, but I won't give out what happens in the series. I want people to be able to read them when they get published. But the challenges are just have to kind of hide from the enemy, and we sneak through like under their noses, and we just try our best to stay hidden, and we just really want to make it back home to the States so we can just be away from the war and everything, but we also want to try and save other lives as well of those who don't want to die at the hands of the Germans.
Well, you can sense the fear among Tonya and her brother and others, and you also sense the power of the Nazi war machine, because you're firsthand with that as the book progresses. War of My Brother. When you started the book, did you have work from a real strict outline, or did you sort of let the book take you in the direction that it went?
When I was writing it, it took me a long time to write because I was still coming up with new ideas. But I kind of let the story just capture me, and I just kind of every time I had an idea, I would just get up and start writing and writing more. And it just kind of went on from there.
How difficult is it to come up with characters, not only interesting characters and develop those, but the number of characters? So often you read a book and it's like either they don't have enough characters in there and it's not really as interesting as it could have been, or they have way too many in there and you almost have to take notes as you're reading the book because you have so many characters to try to keep them separate. you seem to have just the right number. There was a great balance there. All of the characters were very meaningful to the story. How difficult was it to come up with the characters and flesh them out properly for the storyline?
Oh, I wouldn't say it was hard unless you're trying to come up with the most complicated character in the book. But sometimes I would have a picture in my mind and I would want to figure that character's personality out and who they are and try and figure out a name for them. Coming up with a name is a little bit more difficult than the character itself.
The book we're talking about is War of My Brother. It's available all across the country. You can get information at Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, bookventure.com. And you can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on directly to that information. Tonya Threadgill is the author, our guest on the program. You talk to so many authors, and the most difficult part, well, beginning is difficult for them. And then being able to set aside time so they actually sit and are productive. In the beginning, how long did it take from the point where you said, I think I'm going to write this, to where you actually were serious about it and began the process?
I'd say the book probably took me about a year or two to write. It just took a little bit of time. And during the first the first book, when I knew how I wanted it to end, I started the second one. But it took a while to write, and this was my first series I've ever written.
Was it difficult when you would go back and you would read what you had written and saw how the story was progressing? Was it difficult not to rewrite? And how many times did you rewrite? Was that frequent where you went back and you made changes?
I reread it a bunch of times. I went through it and fixed some things. During the time I was getting it published, I would go through. They'd want to ask me if I got everything right. I'd fix words that I misspelled or messed up on. It took a lot of rereading and going over everything.
Yeah, did you set aside time every day? Was that like a routine that you had, or was it something you just fit into your schedule when the schedule allowed?
It was like a routine for me.
Would you recommend that to somebody who's thinking about, okay, I would like to do this, I don't know if I have the discipline? In fact, I admire that discipline because actually it's one thing to establish a schedule, it's another thing to adhere to that schedule. Would you recommend that to someone, that you sit down, even if you don't have anything really in your mind, you sit down and you put it in the thought process and you come up with something?
Yeah, I would. If I knew someone who had to work a lot or they had kids, I'll tell them there's always a good time that you can sit down and have time to yourself and write, because writing is a relaxing tool for me. It helps me relax, and I just type up stuff that I come up with.
Is it difficult then at the end of that time? Say you've got I've got 3 hours, I'm going to sit here at the computer and come up with some thoughts and write that out. And at the time, is it difficult sometimes to stop? I would almost think as you have these characters, the story is developing, there's not like a magic switch, is there? You click and it goes out of your mind until you sit down at the computer the next time?
Yeah, it can be hard to stop, especially when you have it in your head and you just see it clearly and you just type and type and type.
Yes.
There were times I couldn't wait to get home so I could work on my book again. It was a lot of fun for me to write, but it took a lot of hard work.
You finished book one, and book one is War of My Brother, and you're working on book two. What did you learn from book one that may make the whole technique different for you in book two?
Well, book two is so far me and my brother and me and Harry and his family, they try to keep me safe. I don't want to give out too much details, but a lot goes on in the second one, and the war just gets worse and worse as it progresses on throughout the rest of the year.
It's War of My Brother is the first book. This is book two we're talking about. That's coming up next. We're concentrating on War of My Brother. A couple minutes left in the program. Who were some of the writers that you grew up reading that influenced maybe your writing style or your writing technique?
Oh, well, I didn't do a lot of reading as a kid, but I did grow up reading, I think his name is R.L. Stein, the author of Goosebumps, and I got into Suzanne Collins, the author of Hunger Games, and I read a lot of books, but there was like so many of them I really enjoyed. I can't remember all of them.
Well, yeah, and you've got your own style in the book War of My Brother. A few minutes left in the program. I want to talk about that. This is a dream. You write this, you get the encouragement you mentioned from your teachers, and the book is published, and you're there holding a copy of War of My Brother. You got the book cover, you got your name on the book. What was that experience like for you?
It was very exciting and a little bit scary at the same time because I didn't know who would read it and like it, and if they would want to read more, because I know a lot of authors get criticism from a lot of people, even people that they thought they could trust. But a lot of people that know me, they read the book and they really enjoyed it.
I was going to say the next thing then is getting input, and you're getting input, and obviously it's been very positive. What would you like to have the readers take away after reading War of My Brother? Is there any message, anything you'd like them to take away after reading the book?
Well, that's an interesting question.
It's certainly entertaining, and you've got the history in there. You've got the lesson in there of what can happen when we let things get out of hand in the world. I guess it's just sort of that general message that you would like to get across, and the fact that this is entertainment. You can slip away for a couple of hours every day, go to a different world, and enjoy what you're reading. Yeah,
I mean, it's like when you read a really good book at the end of a stressful day. It's good to escape reality sometimes and just go into the world of imagination and think of what you can come up with in certain things every day.
Well, that certainly is the case with the book we're talking about. It's called War of My Brother. Tonya Threadgill, the author, is our guest on the program. The book is available at bookventure.com, at amazon.com, barnesandnoble.com. It's a fascinating read. It's the first book of what will be at least several books. It's the first one by our author and guest on the program, Tonya. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. It was a pleasure having an opportunity to read War of My Brother and to have you on the program. Congratulations on a successful first book, and we'll stay in touch, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about book number 2 as well. Do you have a title for that?
I didn't want to call it War of My Brother 2. I wanted to call it by the...
Yeah, War of My Brother is the first book, and then you've got a title. You got a working title for the second one?
Yeah, the second one is going to be called Germany's Rivalry.
Interesting. It is an entertaining book. It's a look back at a time in history that it's a rather frightening time when we look back, and you do it through the eyes of Tonya, an American girl, and her brother Josh. It's called War of My Brother. Tonya Threadgill, the author. Tonya, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Hey, thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. And information, of course, available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You're listening to This Week in America.